All right, gang. So I'm gonna get right into the first talk. All right, my talk. I'm calling it rocket fuel. Right. I want to inspire you. I want to motivate you, and I want to point out some of the things that you can do within your business. Some that are, in a sense, ideological, but everything comes down to creating a system or a structure. Okay, it's very important that leadership is a system as much as marketing is a system. Leadership is as much of a doing certain things repetitively over and over and over again with a level of consistency that allows people to start to get it, right? When I hear gym owners tell me that their employees don't get it, it's almost always a structure issue. We have not set up the system for you to lead well. Okay. We're going to talk about automating your gym. We want great systems and great employees, right? Again, human capacity, whether it's your own as a solo entrepreneur, maybe you're a single person, right? Or solo entrepreneur like Justin, right? Who's starting off his business, or a husband and wife team, okay? Or you have a gym with employees. The number one fuel for that business is you, the human, right? And the employees you have. It's not marketing, it's not sales, it's not anything. It's how much can I get out of the people, right? Payroll in a business like ours, and as you start to hire employees, is always going to be your greatest expense. So I want to make sure that I maximize my ROI, right? And you're either creating anchors for your business or you're creating rockets, right? And we want rockets. I want people that are smart, that think well, that are autonomous, and get it, right? And we want to inject rocket fuel into our business. What are some of the problems, right? Every business has problems. So does ours, right? I'm not going to lie to you here and say that, oh, Varsity House is perfect. There's no issues whatsoever, right? Here's some of the common problems. We're not getting enough clients. Well, that's a marketing issue, right? So somebody wrote in the chat that they wanted more clients. It's a marketing and messaging issue. Your message isn't sparking excitement in your potential client, and or your marketing system isn't consistent enough for them to see your message. My employees don't get it. I hear this one all the time. Why don't my employees think like me? Why can't they do this? How come I notice this? How come I do that? Well, that's why you're the business owner, right? That's why you're the boss. That's why you're the head coach or whatever it might be. Okay. You have to instill that leadership in them. You have to instill that in them. I'm not making enough money, right? Everybody comes up. There's always a root. Why aren't I making enough money, right? It's either, bad money management is a big one, right? But it's usually a sales issue, right? And we're not closing enough deals. We haven't set up a real great sales process, or we don't have great products and services that our clients want, right? You can sell stuff that people don't want, right? And in a sense, just like you would go to a retail store, would maybe filled the store with some new product for Christmas and it just didn't move. What happens to it? It winds up at the Marshalls, right? It winds up at the discount store, right? And nobody wants it. So your products, in a sense, could be sitting on the shelves, and your client's like, I don't really want that, right? So you're not selling it. A lot of gym owners are afraid to grow or afraid to hire because they feel like having employees or growth just means more chaos. And that's generally a systems issue. That means you don't have the systems to support the growth, right? I don't have great systems. That means things aren't repeatable and reproducible and predictable. So therefore, I'm tentative to scale because I'd rather just keep it small, right? I'll just do it myself, right? That's the age-old adage of every gym owner. Nobody can do it better than me. My super duper training system, the Dead Sea Scrolls of training systems, right? And this system that nobody else can ever reproduce, okay? And then last but not least, the biggest one, I have no free time because I do everything, right? And almost always, right? And I can honestly, there's a few people on this call who I won't chastise here that are part of our consulting group that I've worked them personally through this. You cannot do everything. And in fact, most people who think they need to do everything are the bottleneck in the business. And the problem that you have is you, right? And you have to let go and you have to find a way to allow people to fail, right? And allow people to learn by, messing up a little bit and coaching them well. Okay. All right. Moving on. So most of what I'll talk about today is great coaching equals great business, right? And we spend so much of our time worrying about coaching our clients, but the number one people to coach are yourselves, right? And or your employees. Okay. And you should be spending as much time on your own personal development and the development of the business, coaching yourself, or coaching your employees, right? As you do coaching people. So if you have employees and you're coaching 30 hours a week, you're not spending enough time coaching them. All right. That's an impossibility at this point. All right. So we'll get to that in a little bit and just talk about some of the parameters of that. Right. But great coaching is a great business. And you go from being the doer of things, right? Meaning that Dan and I, at one point in time, Dan and I stood on the gym floor 50 hours a week and coached everyone. Okay. And then we'd run upstairs and do the books. And then I'd scramble to pay the bills. And then I'd, run to the front desk because somebody walked in the door and I'd try to get their name and information. Right. And we were the marketing, sales, finance, and training department. And at some point we reached a bottleneck where the growth of the business was inhibited because we were standing on the gym floor. And there were 30 hours a week where I could not work on the business because I was in it training my ass off. Right. And I love that. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. I miss it. But Varsity House needs me and Dan to do different stuff now than it did 15 years ago. Okay. All right. So what are some of the keys to running an autonomous business, and how do we automate your business so that you can do the things that you should do as the owner? What are things that owners should do anyway? Most people don't even know. Dan, I'm gonna call a couple of people out. What's one thing like that an owner should be focusing a lot of their time and attention on?
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy, right? Do you understand the finances of your business? Do you work with a CFO and or an accounting team? And do you get what it means to have good finances, right? Balancing the books, P&Ls, budgets, projections, and things like that, managing cash flow. Right. Another one is Mark. Go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, real quick on that. It's like sometimes people will be like, what the heck's financial literacy? It's just really it's like a rep range with training. Like, how much should you be spending on certain things within the context of your business? How much should be spent on payroll? How much should be spent on, let's just say like fixed expenses like rent and overhead and things like that? How much should we be running through like, disposable expenses and things like that? And just making sure that your business month over month is hitting the scorecard in terms of where you should be based upon the projections of how much you are going to make.
Yep. Another major role of an owner is marketing. Nobody is going to get the messaging of your business better than you. Nobody. All right. And it's generally one of the last roles that I would give up. All right. Right. And is marketing. Now, and the last is leadership, is leading your team, coaching and educating your team. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't coach at all. I'm not saying that everybody's goal on this call should be to never coach again. I'm not saying that. Dan still coaches. I still coach a little bit here and there. Okay. Adam still coaches a lot. All right. And there's no reason for you to stop coaching completely. But it can't be the majority of what you do. Once you sign a lease, once you buy a truck, Justin, once you spend, 25, 50, 100K, whatever it is. All right. It's time to turn into a business person. You are no longer a trainer, right? Training is the product, but you ascend to owner CEO. All right. So there's 4 keys to creating an autonomous business. Purpose, right? A great vision for growth with a mission that people want to get behind. Accountability, the actual structure of your leadership. How do you hold people accountable? Does everybody in your business, including yourself, know what you're supposed to be working on each day, how and why, and what is the highest ROI jobs for each individual in your business? Education. Education is the hidden stairway. If you want people to do better, you got to educate them. And last is systems, right? Arguably, the end result of the other 3, right? Once you start to educate yourself, hold people accountable, and show up every day with a great purpose, those systems will start to come to life. Varsity House didn't open its doors with a giant operation book full of systems. Systems were created over time as we went and saw a need. Literally today, I was creating a new system for our emergency response protocol. Like if, God forbid, there was a bad injury, a heart attack, things like that. We all learn CPR, AED, but what is the overall protocol for clearing people out of the business? Who do we call? What's the, other than calling 911, things like that. So again, always refining, tweaking, reteaching, reviewing your systems. All right. So let's talk about purpose, the power of purpose, right? The power of purpose is knowing where you're going, knowing why you're going there, and outlining a plan to get there. It's incredibly important, but if we ask everybody on the call, what does your business look like a year from now? How much money do you want to make this year? What's your revenue goal? What's your client goal? Do you have, am I trying to get 50 clients this year, 25 clients? I need 10 team contracts, whatever your business is, right? You have to set a goal. Now, don't tell me this is your first year in business. I want to make $10 million by 2022. All right, you're a little crazy, okay? But a realistic goal, I want to have 50 clients by the end of the year. I think anybody on this call could do that right now, right? That's purely a marketing and sales issue. All right, we have to double down on marketing. Why are we going there? It's the ideological stuff. Your employees and your people care about why. We hear tons about why, but why is so important because just going to the gym is not important. Going to the gym to live a healthier life so I can be around for my kids when I'm older, that's important. Losing 50 pounds so I can get off all my heart medication and cholesterol medication and diabetes medication, that's important, right? Going to the gym and working my ass off all summer long so I can make the varsity team and hopefully get a college scholarship, that's important. You have to play into the why, and your business needs its own why. The plan to get there is the vision, okay? You have to set a set of core values. I talk about this ad nauseum, and people get annoyed with me because it sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo. Hungry, humble, and committed to excellence are our core values, right? But it's literally become the hiring and firing basis of everything we do. When we evaluate a client, I'm looking at hungry, humble, and committed. What have you shown me that's hungry? What do you show me that's humble? What do you show me that's been committed? A personal commitment to excellence, meaning you're going to seminars, you're doing things like this, you're reading books, right? You're seeking out knowledge, right? People climb Mount Everest, dive to the bottom of the ocean, and go to war for a great mission. Right? A great purpose. Okay. A great purpose gets everybody rowing the boat in the same direction. You have to have a great mission. So again, here, our mission is to facilitate greatness, to help our clients become the best version of themselves, to become their own unstoppable you, right? And that sounds a whole lot better than, we're just here to work out. Okay. So although it sounds ideological, do you want to show up to a place for a decade and pay money or be an employee of that just says, what do you do at varsity? Hey, we just work out. Or we help save people's lives. We give athletes amazing opportunities to be great athlete scholars, and we help their families and the community live healthier, happier lives so they can look and feel great and be confident and help other people do the same thing, right? Which one sounds better? Right? We want to work for the company that just works out, right? Or you want to work for the company that believes deeply in the soul of the business and the brand that they're truly saving lives and helping people. All right? You have to create that mission statement. You have to create the core values, and you have to live by them, right? Don't write down hungry, humble, and committed. Those are mine, okay? But if you're not going to live those core values yourself, right? When Dan and I sat down and came up with those, I said, what would somebody say about each one of us? And those were the things we came up with. It was literally a reflection of ourselves in a sense. Accountability is the next thing. Accountability is the leadership process. And now we can get deep into the weeds here with what that actually means in terms of meeting schedules and things like that, and some of the techniques and tools that Dan and I have used over the years to keep people accountable. One of them is planning. meaning that if you get hired here at Varsity House, there is a very well-defined pathway from intern to part-time coach to associate coach to head coach to assistant manager to key advisory team member, and so forth. Okay. And that means that each one of those stages of your career has a different KRA, key responsibilities and accountability. That includes, how many hours you're working, what your pay looks like, right? But what are your key KPIs, right? So again, if you're like our sales manager, what is a KPI? Hey, you got to make 20 sales phone calls a day, right? Things like that. You have to respond to all potential leads within 24 hours. These are some KPIs. You need a referral, a reactivation, a reach out, and a review every single week. These are KPIs, right? That's how I'm going to judge him. When I look back at those things, I say, all right, Mike, how did we do with sales in the last 3 months? Right? I can look at those KPIs. Hey, you only made one referral in 3 months. We need to be actioning one a week. What's the issue, right? Things like that. Do you need more resources? Do you need more time? What are some of the things? People leadership is easier. I won't say it's easy because it's definitely not, but leadership is easier when people know what the hell they're supposed to be doing. All right. So if you come in the Varsity House and you have a defined role with a KPI that tells you what your key responsibilities are, and then we set up a schedule for you. These are when you're training. This is when you're doing. And then we give you other ancillary duties. Well, on Monday, I want you to come in at 11 and your shift starts at 2. From 11 to 2, I want you to write thank you notes to all your new clients that are in your classes, and so forth, right? Whatever those ancillary duties are, whatever your key indicators are, you have to find ways to work them into what's called the ideal schedule, right? So holding people accountable is having extreme clarity with them as to what they need to do, what their schedule is going to be, how they're going to be measured. That's the biggest one that I see as the failable, is the measurement part of it, right? What am I actually being measured on? So you as the employee, right, would say, this causes frustration. This is when the owner says, my employees don't get it. And then this is where the employees get frustrated because like, well, I don't know, it's a great job. I really like working there, but I don't really know where I'm going or whether it's going anywhere. I never talk to my boss about money. I never talk to my boss about, a role increase or what I'm going to do, blah, 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 that type of stuff and so forth. So accountability is holding people to their task, right? Every day. So to give you a quick example, it's, weekly meetings, monthly town halls, it's weekly one-on-ones. Dan has a one-on-one pretty much every week with every team member. And some of the team members he meets with every week, period, like our advisory team, they're going to meet every week. And he's going to meet individually with those members each week as well, just to make sure that they're on track with whatever they need. Set roles and duties, right? That's the key. We talked about that. All right. Let's talk about education. How many people here are, educating their employees? Are you spending time teaching them the things that you know? Now, I'm definitely bad at a lot of things, but one of the things that I think we hung our hats on from the very beginning of Varsity House was, I'm going to teach you everything I know, and I'm going to spend a lot of time doing it. So Dan and Mike used to come in nice and early. We would work out, and we would have class time every day, right? And I would teach them something, whether it was something about training, something about programming, something about anatomy and physiology, whatever it might be, something about nutrition. I'm a little older, so anything I knew, I tried to pass down. Adam has, taken the torch, and every single week in our coaches meeting, he's given a lesson. He's teaching people. He's holding people accountable to getting better, to one of our core values, right? Commitment to excellence. And he's kicking ass, making sure that people are learning constantly. So we're always bringing the newest, best, and freshest ideas to the training floor, right? And it could be as simple as, hey, let's review how we cue this exercise, to an in-depth look at speed, mechanics, and things like that, right? Where it really is a sliding scale. Now, here's one thing I'll say about education, because I've gotten this a lot, and Dan and Adam can attest to this, because we've coached a lot of business owners in the last couple of years. And a lot of them will say, well, I go to stuff all the time. I learn stuff all the time, but my employees don't want to do it and they don't want to spend any money, right? Doing it. You have to put the opportunities in front of them. And I'm not saying that you have to pay for everything, but you probably got to pay for some things. And you probably have to put opportunities in front of them. So one of our goals is to make the education process a little easier. So one of the tactics we do is we give everybody a $500 yearly stipend for education, and we give them 3 paid days off. So you can go to a weekend seminar and not have to worry about getting hit on both ends, right? So again, you think about a 22-year-old, coach who's not making a ton of money, right? I got to go away for 3 days, pay for a hotel, and take 3 days off of work. It's in a sense I'm getting hit twice, right? I pay $1,000 for whatever certification or seminar and hotel, and then I'm losing 3 days worth of pay, right? I'm getting hit twice. This allows them to use some of that money. I think it's a great way to make sure that your employees are constantly learning, right? And then the other way in which we do it is by, our own continuing education platforms. All our coaches are on our VHE platform. Like I said, Adam teaches lessons almost every single week. Each coach presents in different NPRs, okay? And we, help each other learn constantly, right? I do a lot of stuff with Dan and I both, a lot of business, marketing, sales, leadership. I want my employees to know how to be better leaders, how to communicate better, how to improve their standing in the company. Doesn't mean they're going to be our next GM, but I want them to be the best that they can be. And even if they don't wind up staying here forever, right, I still did my part of giving them 110% of my effort, energy, and attention. And hopefully we'll keep a bunch of the good ones and they'll wind up ascending up the ladder and branching off to other satellite gyms and things like that. And the ones that don't, I want them to walk away from here being like, man, that place wasn't like anywhere else. I needed more money. I needed more opportunity. So I went to this. Okay. But I had an amazing experience at Varsity House and everybody treated me great. And the environment was amazing. Okay. The culture was amazing. So you have to provide your own continuing education and you have to put opportunities in front of people. And a lot of times that means giving a little bit of money too, put a little money behind it, right? You kind of nudge people a little bit, right? And the last thing required for a great autonomous business, and arguably, in my opinion, because I'm kind of the systems guy here, is the systems, right? If you want to be able to walk away from your business and have it still make a ton of money and have people and not have your cell phone blowing up 24/7 while you're away, you need systems. Everything needs to be written down. You need to find a way to prioritize and organize your thoughts and the things that you might do really well into a system that others can do really well. And I'll give you some examples in a minute, but if one person can only do a thing and it's a complicated mess of a way in which it's done because that one person has done it for so long in such a way, what happens when that person leaves or goes away? And a lot of times, if you're the owner, it's, I can't go away. And I know, Dan, how many times have we heard gym owners tell me, I can't take 2 weeks vacation away? It's like, it's impossible, right? If I leave for 2 weeks, the place will burn to the ground, right? That's the test. I want everybody on this call right now to book yourself a 2-week vacation and ditch the gym for 2 weeks and see what happens, right? See if it's still there when you get back, right? If it didn't burn to the ground, right? You have decent people who care, 1, and 2, you have decent systems. Can things improve? Of course. All right. But you look at a system is a set of principles or procedures, an organized framework, right? And you look at like Orange Theory. You love them or hate them, right? Most people who we deal with, like, oh, Orange Theory, well, who's making $1 billion a year? Not I, right? It's $1 billion company, right? It's $1 billion company. Why? Because it's predictable, it's repeatable, and it's reproducible. And I should throw in there, it's profitable, right? They found the right products and the right service at the right price. They've organized it in such a way where I could just pop Every strip mall in an affluent area, we just pop that Orange Theory in there, and we get to 150 clients, and the place makes 200 grand a year in profit. Not a bad deal, right? Pretty good model, right? It might not be the greatest strength and conditioning in the world, okay? But it's profitable as hell. It's growing really fast. And there's a reason why there's other companies just like it popping up, like F45. TB12s are going to be coming around real soon. He's franchising that model. That's going to be a big one. There's Alloy. There's Alpha Fit Club, which is another one that's a local here to Jersey that's popping up. They're growing really fast. They're going to have like 10 gyms by the end of the year. Okay. So there's lots of those brands. Why? Because it works. Right? People like predictability. People like going. I was just having this discussion with my mom the other day. We drove past a McDonald's and I said, man, we should go get the big breakfast. Does everybody know what the big breakfast is at the McDonald's? Right? It's gross. It's, the 2 pancakes, the hash browns, the sausage, patty, thing, meat, smeat, and some scrambled eggs. Right? It's been the same for 30 years. Right? It's the same exact, it's basically styrofoam. You just eat the box and everything it comes in, and it's all edible. You just eat it all one shot. Okay. But people like that predictability. A Big Mac is a Big Mac. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Right. I still remember that jingle from when I was a kid. All right. Client erosion happens when you get a different experience. All right. When you create a different experience, people get pissed. And everybody on the call knows that, like, if you have one coach, and this is something we've dealt with recently, and Adam's worked super hard on this, right, in the last couple of months. It's not acceptable here at Varsity House anymore to where Adam is this anomaly of a coach, and he's so good, right? And the other coaches look so bad doing the same thing, okay? If that means that, you're going to get the boo birds from the clients being like, well, classes aren't the same unless Adam's coaching it, right? And that's a bad product. All classes have to be fun. All training has to be awesome. All training has to be a system that's reproducible. And that's what Adam's going to talk about today. All right. You got to document, train, and measure your system. So again, just a quick thing for us, like one of the things we do a 1-page system documenter. So if you think you need a system, there's many of them, right? Client onboarding, things like that, retention, referrals, right? Whatever they might be. We do a 1-pager on that. And we kind of write out the basic idea of what the system needs. Hey, we need a better system for, literally answering the phone. It could be anything. And okay, great. What do we say when we answer the phone? What do we do when we get an inquiry? Where does the message go to? Where do we write it down? Right? Who gets the message? How long does it, do you have to respond to said message? Things like that, right? And again, when you start to really think about a system, it becomes a lot more detailed than you thought a lot of times. But once it's done, it's done. It's done forever. And then the next person that comes in, oh, great. Here's our phone answering system. When you answer the phone, it's hello. Welcome to Varsity House. How can I help you? Right. This is Joe. Right. And it's a system. Okay. So I put a couple systems up here. These are some of the major ones, right? But a vision plan. How much money? Where are you going? How many gyms? How many employees? Right. Even if you have no freaking idea, write something down. Right. No plan. Any plan is better than no plan. I would rather you tell me, hey, I just want to make $50,000 this year from my training business. I'd like to have 24 clients, and I'd like to only be training 12 hours a week. Okay, great. I have something to work with. Now we can try and backtrack to see if that's actually, profitable and feasible. Okay. Your accountability chart. If you have employees, who's doing what? If you have a partner, what do they do? Right. What are they doing all day? Right. Dan and I have a great partnership because we have clarity. Right. I know what Dan's doing. He knows what I'm doing. Okay. So most of the time. Right. But I know he's got key responsibilities, and so do I. Client onboard, sales system, social media, marketing, community management, retention is a big system. That's a huge system. HR, right? Once you get a little bit bigger, you need to start thinking about HR systems, handbooks, payroll, PTO, sexual harassment policies, right? All that type of stuff starts to come into play. And then last but not least, the training process itself, right? The training schedule and the training program itself is another system. Can you teach your training system to your employees? All right. So 80% of the people on this call won't be here 5 years from now, unfortunately. And another 80%, if you made it to 4 years, to 5 years, you might not be here in the next 5, in 10. So if your business, and most of the time that's because of burnout, it's because of the owner burning out. It's not because of cash. It's not because of clients. It's because I can't take it anymore. All I do is work. This is miserable. I'm going to go get a regular job. Dan and I can name at least 5 or 6 people in the local area who had gyms, who packed it in, who were like, I'm going to go be a truck driver. I'm going to go be a fireman. I'm going to go, I'm going to go get a sales job. I'm done with this nonsense. Okay. So if your business depends on you, you don't have a business, you have a job. And it's the worst job in the world because you're working for a lunatic. Okay. You. All right. And last but not least, don't be afraid to be the boss. Don't be afraid to that at some point there might be a point in time where you don't have to come into the gym for a day, right? You don't have, or you can leave at 1 o'clock and the business runs, or you can go away for that 2-week vacation. The goal should be for your business to work for your life. The business should not be your life. Okay. It should be a complement to you and your lifestyle. It should pay you well. It should be exciting. It should be fun. And I think a lot of the people here that are still in the, let's call it the operator / like head coach role, where you're the primary product, right? That you're delivering the service and you're coaching a lot. Okay. That the goal should be, right, to create a system that allows people to do what you've been doing for the last decade. And if you can't get, and now that's not saying that there aren't going to be some people that say, hey, this is just a side hustle. I'm going to train 15 people a week for infinity. That's fine too. But let's create some great systems around it so that it's easier for you. All right. Own your result. Wind up being you go from being the trainer, right? And the doer to the owner, right? And start becoming more of a businessman.